Should be solving number 4 says, is this wifey material? Why or why not? This takes us back to Twitter in an interesting post from one Peter Wright, whoever that might be. He says a woman apparently drew up this list of rewards to encourage her husband to do household chores for her. The sad legacy of Skinner and Pavlov. So here's let me see if I can get this image better. So here's the image. Sexual rewards. Wash dishes equals a hand. Wash dishes and put away. It looks like she put the put away as an afterthought. Wash dishes and put away equals a hand job. Point number 2, look after kids for a whole day. Feeding, doing nappies, and putting to bed equals a blowjob. So look after kids for a whole day includes feeding, doing nappies, and putting to bed. That's a blowjob. Third point. Hoover house. I guess vacuum the house. Touch fanny. Touch her bottom. The next point. Fold and put away washing equals kisses. The next point. Cook dinner and clean kitchen equals anything you want. And the last point. 2 or more jobs in one day equals sex with an exclamation point. My God. Yeah, so that is the sexual rewards list that some woman put together. And the question is this wifey material? Why or why not? My God. You know what? Kevin Carey, you're back here. I'm gonna start with you this time. Is this wifey material? Why or why not?
I wouldn't put up with this crap. I would not. I already know my role. She knows her role. We got to be adults here. None of this garbage now. Now, it's I keep saying this years ago. It's too late in the game. We got to come together as black men and black women and work to build a better community, not deal with this kind of crap. This is feminist garbage. You know, the hell is kind of woman. She needs to go kick rocks. But I'll share the mic here.
Yeah, kick boulders. Black Steel, what say you?
So yeah, I got a problem with the whole rationing out of physical affection, right? Uh, like if you do this, I'll do that for you. So I gotta wonder because first of all, I don't think this was a black person who wrote this because believe it or not, and this is something that a lot of people have a problem with. Black men tend to be the most egalitarian men, at least in the United States. Many of us come from a generation of men who were raised by women, so we usually tend to more or less try to divide household chores equally, right? At least in my experience, and I think some of the sociological studies have shown that black men really contribute to the household at a greater rate than white men or Latino men. Because, truth be told, in this economy and throughout history, black men and black women have both had to work. So there wasn't really a situation where black men and black women, the woman could stay home. So I believe this whole thing about, exchange, you do housework, you get pussy tokens, you can cash your tokens in and get your dick sucked. To me, that's just, can I say that? Was that bad? Sorry. Anyways,
No,
so
that's fine.
okay. But
No,
anyways,
no teach. You all right? You good?
okay, all right. I'm gonna get a referral to the office. I've been writing too many of those. But anyway, so yeah, I have a problem with this whole sexual rewards thing because I think that that's something that should be done naturally. I think you should talk to your partner, your lady, your man. Hey, honey, could you give me some help with that? But that whole thing about rationing out sex, I got a problem with that because that leads to a really dark place. If you don't do what I want you to do, you can't have sex with me. So what happens if we reverse it? If if you don't do if you don't do what I tell you to do, I'm not gonna put gas. I'm not gonna change a tire when you need it. I'm not gonna cut the grass. These things can go both ways. But if a man was doing that instead of using his words, he sought to punish her or manipulate her into whatever behavior he wanted her to do. She wants him to do, or because men do. There's man chores that we do all the time: cut grass, work on the car. If you live in the winter, you shovel snow. These are things that. So what happens if you don't do what I asked you to do? Then I'm not gonna do my chores. I'm not going to reward you. I'm not going to buy you gifts. It's just, to me, I just have a whole problem with that. We're all adults. Use your words. Communicate with your man and your woman, and y'all come to an understanding. This whole thing about, well, if you do this, I'll do this for you. And to me, honestly, looking after the kids for a whole day, that's something you should be doing. And whether your kids, I had a problem. People say that babysit your kids, or your kids. You can't really babysit your kids. As far as washing the dishes, man, most people have dishwashers now. I don't know. It's just I really I'm wondering what type of relationship he has with his man. Like, what does he do? Or is he the type of man, is he, the breadwinner and he's doing the majority of the work? So you want this man to work? I don't know. But the whole exchange of affection versus that, I have a problem with that. I do think it's a bunch of nonsense. I think you need to use your words instead of using your coochie as a bargaining chip. I'll leave it there. Thanks.
I wonder if he bought a washing machine, will she blow the washing machine? I mean, or the what do you call that stuff again? The dishwasher. Will she blow the dishwasher and say, I mean, come on, man. This shit is just ridiculous. Anthony McPhail, what say you?
Man, this is ridiculous. Hey, I'm just saying, for a minute, Koku, if you take the sexual, take the sexual aspect out of it, just for a minute, just check me out, roll with me. Take the sex part out of it. Don't that sound like a mama talking to a child?
Absolutely.
It sounds like a mama talking to a child. Hey, look here.
Absolutely.
Hey, you wash the dishes. No, you wash clothes. You wash your brothers and sisters. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna give you your $5 allowance for the week or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's that, cause see, I'm 56 years old. I'm 56, and my mama, when I was growing up, my mama, I got 3 other brothers, and we all had a time. Like 1 week, I washed dishes, I cleaned up the house, and then vice my other brothers. And my mama would give us an allowance. That's what that sounds like to me. If you take the sex part out of it. But with the sex part, to me, that's just ridiculous, man. Because you know what? Like the brother said, that's something that we growed up doing anyway. You know what I'm saying? Black family, everybody cleaned up. No, we all washed dishes and cleaned up, because we had large families. So, hey, look here. You got to clean up, wash dishes. You got to do this here. The other brother, sister got to do that. That's something that we always did. That's just some of that old white feminist bullshit.
Yeah, you know what it sounds like also? It just sounds like a soft, sadomasochistic relationship, like a dominatrix, being soft on the man.
Yeah. Hey, I'm sorry, the word, using her vagina as a weapon. You know what I'm saying? Okay, if you do this here, I'll give you some, but that just, to me, it just sounds like some bullshit, man. I'm sorry, Coco. My bad for cursing, man.
No, that's fine. We might have to flip that piece of paper over and see what the punishments are. I'll step on your balls if you don't do this. I'll, blah, 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 right?
Yeah. In the chat, hey, Coco, I get somebody who will do it.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? In the chat, House Rally Podcast says some Western pseudo prostitution nonsense. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah,
let me also say, ladies, I know Marcus Garvey's the way was out there earlier. Provide triggers. Let's get some ladies to weigh in on this too, because I don't want to be labeled misogynistic or whatever it is, the term.
Yeah.
Because of the commentary about this nonsense. Let's hear from some women. Maybe you guys are on the woman's side here. So come on up. Let's hear your thoughts as well.
Where's the revolutionary matron, man? She would be great for this.
Absolutely, she would be great for it. I don't know where the matron is. Someone asked about Tan earlier. I don't know what's up with Tan, etc. But let's go to Jose. Jose, what say you?
Yeah. It's the the other panel members make it a deep one. But have you thought about how does she behave at work? I mean, I imagine I'm her colleague, and I take, I do some files for her. It's an administrative job, and I do something for her. what do I get? What do I get? I mean, now I'm her husband, and she writes me. I'm reading this, and I'm thinking, okay, so how do you do it at your job? I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy.
I think filing stuff for her at work is equivalent to washing the dishes, so you probably get a hand job, I guess, for that.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'll leave
Thank
it
you.
at that.
Thank you, Jose. Last but definitely not least, Buana, is this wifey material? Why or why not?
I see it as funny. I see it as hilarious. But that I would ask a question, because is there a difference between someone who was raised in a patriarchal scenario, a man who was raised in a patriarchal situation, rather than a man who was raised in a matriarchal situation? And the reason why I ask it is the Bahamas is an extremely patriarchal society, extremely. you know, it's slowly changing because of education and all that. But religion have this society is extremely patriarchal. And on the books right now, there's no such thing as marital rape. So that means a woman's body don't necessarily belong to her after she gets married. You know what I mean? So it's like this whole idea of negotiating between sex and choice that don't even exist in the frame of reference of this society, because once you say I do, your body is no longer yours. That means a man can take that and you have no recourse. You can't call the police. You can't call the police. So it's a hilarious looking at this for me. From my perspective, it's hilarious. Now I consider myself to be egalitarian on a certain level, because I believe in fairness. I believe a woman have a right to her body or whatever. But it's not even a question in a society where I come from. It's like, if I wash this, you give me no woman. You can give me a blowjob because I put a ring on your finger. You are obligated. You are obligated to give me your body when I want your body. Period. If you marry me, that's the reality. That's the reality. But I don't think that you should have this negotiation between sex and chores. I think that when you try to weaponize sex in a committed relationship, it becomes dangerous. It becomes dangerous because a man gonna look at that, a grown man now, not as Bobby Wright was saying, like a child, but a grown man say, well, wait a minute, I just finished working 12 hours, been on a shift for 12 hours. I just finished paying this bill, that bill, the other bill. I just finished paying a mortgage, and you tell me I have the only way to get a hand job or a blow job from you is because if I wash some dishes, get the hell out of here. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? So I don't see it like that. I think that you should be able to convince, and but some men don't see it that way. Some men don't see it that way, and I don't think that you should weaponize sex. If you have the privilege of having a house, first of all, having all these other things, then there should be obligation going across the board. And if I have the privilege paying this and that and the other things, and you have the privilege of benefiting off of that, then you should have some obligation. And I have the obligation is sometimes giving me some sex when you don't feel like it. It is what it is. I just think that the relationships right now is so one way. It's like we was talking about it the other day. It's transactional, and the transaction is, if you do this for me, I can do this for you. If you do this for me, I can do this for you. Well, maybe that's an implied thing in any kind of a relationship. That's implied. If I provide all these things to you, then the implication is I should have a right to these kinds of things. What I have to renegotiate with you now after having do all these things what man usually do, like pay rent, like pay mortgage, like pay the bills and all this shit like that. And now I have to renegotiate and say, oh, okay, it doesn't stop there. Yeah, now I have to wash the dishes. It doesn't stop there. Now I have to take care of the kids before you jerk me off. Come on, man. But that's in my head. Maybe I'm warped and twisted.
So Juan, you see Star Wars, The Empire
Yeah,
Strikes
I
Back.
see. I see. I see Star Wars. Yeah,
Darth
yeah.
Vader says, "I'm altering the deal. Pratt don't alter it any further."
Oh man, oh man. If it's a renegotiation, you gotta let me know. So because if you're renegotiating the contract after and do these things, I have to be able to say, okay, well, I agree with this contract, or I'll step away from this contract and go somewhere else. Let me go somewhere else. Maybe I'm gonna be involved with some other woman who don't necessarily have all these restrictions and conditions. Don't just obligate me to these things and then you go renegotiate on me. Come on, man. It's nonsense, but it is what it is. I guess we're living in a so-called modern world, so you gotta say that no more.
Well, I want to address what Marcus Garvey is the way said, and she's definitely right in that there are some men who do no help in the housework at all. But I think that, and that could very well be the case with this person here. They're dealing with a man who does nothing around the house. Um, so yeah, I think that from looking at from a woman's perspective, what if you got a dude who absolutely will do nothing? You're stuck with not only you got to work because in modern times most households require two incomes. So here you are, you working, and as a woman, you got to work and you got to take care of the household, but the man doesn't help at all. I don't know. I think that, and just speaking outside looking in, everybody should contribute to the functioning of the household. That includes the children too. Once you get to a certain age, you got to do some chores, kids. I'm sorry, you can't be 16, 17 and don't know how to wash your own clothes, don't know how to clean the bathroom, whatever. Me and my son, we're gonna paint this house come summertime. So let's get ready. So you got to know these things. I think everybody who lives in the household should contribute to the household. So I don't know if it's something that this woman is experiencing where she gets no help, and this is her last resort, where I gotta suck this dude's dick. Otherwise, this ain't gonna get done if I don't do it. So I can understand both sides of the equation.
I hear that. I know. I completely agree, and I hear that. Like I say, I'm not unreasonable. I'm not unreasonable. By the way, Marcus Garvey is the way. You are absolutely right. I believe that there should be rape within marriage, but under the laws of the Bahamas, that does not exist. But let me say that I believe that there should be some level of reason. You should be able to reason with one another. And I think that this paper, this photograph, is unreasonable. You can't restrict me to these kinds of scenarios, man. It's like, are we negotiating? Are we in a business? Is this a business deal we making?
I mean, a lot
I
of
just
people
think
will
it's
argue that
ridiculous, man.
marriage is a business. A lot of people would argue that marriage is a business. Um, so I could definitely see some people saying that it is a business. We have to negotiate. So I definitely could understand the point and where people are coming from. I just think everybody in the household needs to contribute. I mean, maybe help was the wrong word. Marcus Garvey is away, but everybody in the household needs to contribute to the functioning of the household in whatever way they can. Um, it, and it,
Blackfield, if it is, sorry for interrupting, brother. If it is a business arrangement, tell the brothers prior to that this is only a business arrangement. We ain't swearing before God and man and nothing like that. This is an arrangement based on the state, a contractual agreement. So now I looking at this arrangement differently that I would with all the fluff that they tell you with the pastor, you have to go counseling, and then they tell you these kinds of ridiculous. No, 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 no. Tell me that this is a business arrangement, contractual arrangement that we are making in regards to the state to bring together assets and all these other things. Let me know that I will look at marriage completely differently. I bet you a lot of brothers would. A lot of brothers would. Because even in a business arrangement or contractual arrangement, sometimes they don't last forever. Contractual arrangements goes to a point to where an arrangement is fruitful. And at that point, y'all could say goodbye, goodbye, and then we leave and go our separate ways. No harm, no foul. It don't play off like that in real life, Black Steel.
I gotta say it again. Marcus Garvey is the way. Uh, you should come up. We should have a discussion on this. I think it's a chance to have a good discussion on this as a black woman to give us your thoughts. You mentioned you're a housewife for 20 years, and you said your husband sits and watch TV. It'd be nice to have that discussion, actually. We ain't got to do it for too long, but it'll be nice if you came up. I will also say, in defense of my hometown, what Buana is talking about comes from the Christian council type stuff. See, that country considers itself a staunch Christian nation. And under Christianity, actually, there's no such thing as essaying your wife, right? It's because you in a Christian marriage, you become the representative of like God himself. Actually, it's like God, then you, then women and children. So it's like, it's what you say and do is like absolute. So that's where that stuff comes from. It's not just Bahamian people innately came up with this idea you could just harm your wife and all kind of shit. No, they're following Christian principles, right? I think Anthony wanted to say something, but your mic is muted. I'll unmute your mic for you. Go ahead.
Okay. Brother Koku, I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, it's not.
I just wanted to say something on that real quick. Okay, I know me and we communicate on IG sometimes. And I meant to send you this reel the other last night, but it was kind of late and I didn't want to bother you that late. But it was a reel from this movie, Five on the Black Hand Side, and it was a marriage. They was having an African-centered marriage. And what I'm saying is, remember Dr. John Henry Clark said that we as African people in America and in the diaspora, the Caribbean, South America, Central America, the thing about it, we outside of our cultural incubator.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We outside of, he's always talked about that. We outside of our cultural incubator. And we in the incubator. No, our descendants of those Africans were born in this Eurocentric incubator. And so now, we taking on these ideas and ideologies of these Europeans, of these European people. It's a conflict with us because that African in us, is fighting against this other ideology, this foreign ideology. You know what I'm saying? So we come up with all this old, dealing with, we trying to deal with white feminism, and all this old bull mess about, this ways of marriages. Well, the marriage was nothing like that in West Africa, in Africa, period. It wasn't based on the same stuff that it's based on now here in America. Like I said, we outside of our cultural incubator. And I think that what we have to do is we have to get back to our African centeredness. If that makes sense to everybody, you know what I'm saying? It's just, we outside of who we really are. It's just like, if you lay there and you sit up, like Barnum was talking about how it is in the Caribbean. In the Bahamas, that probably stems from the British, when the British ruled the Bahamas.
Absolutely.
The laws and everything, and I think
that's true. That's a true statement.
No, we have to get back. That's one of the main things. Marcus Garvey talked about that, about our culture. Emil Cabral talked about that, about culture. He talked about the political side and everything, but he talked about the culture, and how important culture was to a people. You know what I'm saying? And we have to go back. It ain't like you got to necessarily, wearing dashikis and all that. I'll do that too. But that ain't necessarily culture. But you got to go back to the fundamentals. We got to read and study what our ancestors did. Their principles. Like in Liberia, they had like the Pondo and the Sando schools. It was schools like for the education of young ladies into womanhood. And the education of young men, the Poro, it was called Poro and Sando. The education of young brothers into manhood. Here we gave a name like rites of passage and everything. But we don't do it from an African perspective, largely from what I've seen. We do it, we put African on it, but we really do it from like a Eurocentric kind of point of view. But we got to get back to that. That's one, before we could fight a revolution, man, we need to know what we fighting a revolution for.
True.
It said before we fight a revolution, we need to know who we are. We don't need to be running around. We confused as hell, man. We think we Black Hebrews. We think we Moors. We think we everything but African. You know what I'm saying? And that was one of the main things. That was one of the main things that the slave master did, to beat that African up out your ass. You know what I'm saying? To make you so disgusted with even thinking about being African. You know what I'm saying? And now here we go now, following these old ideologies about marriage and everything, when we was the first people in the world to get married. No, we've been knowing what a relationship was between a man and a woman, and knowing our roles and everything. I'm sorry for random man, but if it kind of made sense, you know what I'm saying? I just leave it at that.
You're speaking the truth, man. Keep going.
Yeah, no, it's not a rant. I keep telling Buana that too. It's not a rant if it's making sense. You know, so the same thing I'll extend to you. But I do want to welcome in our next new panelist. Before I mention the name, I want to say I told this sister leave her husband and come and check me, but she never did. So now she's in the chat talking about what she's talking about. So let's welcome in Marcus Garvey is the way. Marcus Garvey, how are you this week?
You are hilarious.
Hey, peace and blessings to Marcus Garvey.
I'm good. How are you?
Welcome.
Welcome, sister.
Hi.
Hope you stay shooting, boy. Stay shooting.
I know, right?
The AK-47.
He is
Don't worry,
hilarious.
I don't miss. I'll at least wing something. Trust me. But anyway, Marcus Garvey is the way. You were talking about your situation. So you identify with this post on the screen?
Well, one, it asked if this is wifey material. It almost seems like the person who's writing it is a wife, so I don't think that should be a question. Unless it's a girlfriend or baby mother. The fact that they have a house together and it's clear that they have kids together, I'm assuming it's a wife. So, is it wifey material? She's already a wife, so if she's already written that up, that's too late. I think from a woman's perspective that this would be written more out of frustration. To write that up to me is if a woman is with a man and he's literally not doing anything and she's like, okay, well, sex obviously motivates men, as we all know. So she needs some motivation. She needs some shit done. He needs motivation. So, it's clear he's not doing any of these things because it wouldn't be on the list. So this is what she needed help with. And this is how I get his attention. Should it be like that? I wouldn't say that makes sense. But to me, it seems like what a frustrated wife would do. At least one thing that a frustrated wife would do.
So I don't want to get too personal, but you did say that you were in a situation
yes
in some earlier years where you weren't getting the
help
support that you necessarily wanted.
Yeah.
Did you ever institute, like put your foot down and say, hey, I want this, and this done? Did it ever work out, or did you just bide your time?
I think I bid my time. In some cases, like, when I had my daughter, I didn't have help. I had never been, I didn't have younger siblings, so I didn't know what it was to take care of a baby. And, it was frustrating when my husband would say, I didn't do this and I didn't do that. And I had to remind him that in his culture, when a woman has a baby, their mother and their sisters would come and help. So I had to explain to him. I said, well, I'm doing the best that I can do. Unlike your culture, my mother is in another country. My sisters are in other countries. So I did not have the help. I have to do the best I can. And, eventually I had 3 small children. And over time I had to learn, well, he's not going to do these things. Then I had to find the solution myself to get things done. And, for a while, sometimes cooking was not a priority. Sometimes cleaning was not a priority, especially if the kids were sick or whatever, because he worked from 9 to 5. And sometimes he had his job might have been 2 hours away when we lived in Northern Virginia. And at one point he had a job where he was going to India for a couple of months during the year. So it really varied. And, as a housewife, I felt that I had to do a lot of things myself. Now the kids are older, they can do some stuff for themselves, but I don't think I have that much pressure anymore, to the point that I now enjoy cooking because I have more time to cook. But at that time when they were smaller and I look back, I'm like, they could have eaten a little bit healthier. But now they're older and I have more free time. I enjoy cooking. So there's some things that a woman needs help with. And, some of the guys were saying, yeah, from a man's point of view, oh, I'm working, so and I'm paying the bills. But you're working from 9 to 5. If you have a stay-at-home mother, she's working 24/7. Like when you go to you've never had to sit down on a toilet trying to shit and a toddler is hanging off your titties, and that can be any time of the day. So, and then, if the baby wakes up sick at 3 o'clock in the morning or crying at 3 o'clock in the morning, most of the time it's the mother, not the father, because, well, she's home all day and he has to wake up for work next day. So, when the opportunity did come, are you going to step in? And, this, to me, this is more for people with smaller kids, because as the kids get older, they become more self-sufficient. But I think a lot of men overlook that children are not easy to raise. Children require extra attention. I don't know if y'all have seen some videos online where, like, the mother, and this was a white couple, the mother was carrying the toddler and carrying the heavy bag, and the father was just walking, swinging his hands. And it looked like they were at SeaWorld, and there was a clown performing there, and the clown took the bag from the mother and gave it to the father, who had a free hand. Like, in his mind, he didn't see that she needed help. He didn't see that, well, she's already carrying the baby and the bag. And I'll give you one more example. I remember living in Northern Virginia, and um my husband and I was coming back from somewhere, and this Indian couple, the husband let the wife get out of the car. So she's carrying a baby and she's carrying the groceries while he's taking the car to park. She's carrying all the stuff. If there was more groceries in the car, I don't know. But he literally gave her everything, basically. And she's going out with everything. So sometimes men don't see, some men don't care. I mean, it is what it is.
So if I can add on to that, so I'm not a woman, of course, but when my son was younger, I worked overnight,
Mhm.
and his mother worked during the day. So he was maybe 2, 3 years old because daycare was so expensive. I
Mhm.
figured I could do me a little overnight job, and during the day I would stay home with the baby.
Mhm.
So I have, in my limited experience, I understand what you mean, because when my son, especially one night, I worked all night and then he refused to go to bed. He would sit up in his crib and just look at me
Yeah.
and laugh. Yeah,
Yeah.
like, just go to sleep, just go to sleep. He's looking at it, he wouldn't go to sleep.
Yeah.
So that I understand it's a lot of work. So it does require, especially if both people are working, it
Yeah.
does require two people to contribute to the household in
Yeah.
whatever way necessary. So if you cook, I'll clean.
Yeah.
If you do this, I'll do that. It has to be some balance. So I do understand what you're saying. As
Mm.
far as this woman, she's probably reached the end of her rope in
Mm.
many ways. I'm trying to do stuff with these kids, and you're sitting home watching football. Help me. I'll give you whatever sexual favor is necessary. Just give me a hand. So I think that really, like you was to your point, this is somebody who's really just exasperated and they didn't know what else to do.
Let me ask a question. I have a question to ask. Is there a time when the course of the people's relationship, your relationship, Marcus Garvey's, where you sit down and had a discussion prior to the three kids coming, as to what will the arrangement be if we decide to have children? Was there any kind of discussion like that? Because
No.
I am see, because men are sometimes we don't necessarily read the tea leaves. And what I mean by that is, if you don't express to us, this is the
Ideology.
expect this is the
You know what I'm saying? So
expectation this is the expectation that I want from you in terms of the relationship. If you don't express that verbally, we ain't gonna glean that. You know what I mean? And we ain't gonna glean sometimes the obvious. So I feel like sometimes women need to sit down and have frank discussions with their partners. They have to have frank discussions because you say, well, he sees that I'm carrying a bunch of bags. Doesn't he know that you should share the load with me? Sometimes that's not obvious to some men.
But I'll
Sometimes that's
tell
not.
you, but with that said, I will tell you that if you saw a stranger, like an old lady doing that, you'd help her, wouldn't you? In most
Some men
cases,
will.
most
Some men.
oh, okay, all right.
Some men, when if a woman comes on the train and she's standing up, an old woman standing up, some men will say, "Excuse me, ma'am, would you like to sit down?" and allow that woman to have their seat. Some men, not so much. That's why I say you have to have a discussion to begin with. You have to have a discussion. You have to see, at least to see the mindset of the person who you want to have a committed relationship with. Now, I'm not saying that you didn't have that kind of discussion, but I'm saying some women, men need to know what the rules of engagement are. Because it's like, I am trying to make you happy, but how will I know that if I don't know, if you have not verbally expressed that to me? I like you. I think you're a beautiful person, but how do I make this arrangement with you work? What will make you happy? So I feel like you have to sometimes, women sometimes have to verbally express it to men. And women don't do that. They just expect it to be done without expressing it. And I feel like sometimes that's where the shortfalls are, I believe.
I don't know. I don't know if it's mentioned because I was off. But in modern times, I frequent Africa a lot, and the housewife, I mean, you see these ladies sit at the market with their 10 kilos of fish, or with some baskets of products from the land. But you already know that she's been washing clothes half of the day. You know, she's been cooking, she's been feeding children, and then at about 18, 19, 6, 7, she comes out and goes to the market with her basket, right? So a modern family, uh, that's taken away. The house is full of machines. There's a washing machine, there's a drying machine. Most people have a dishwasher nowadays, and you have a lot of time, right? You have a lot of extra time um, to wonder, and I don't know how to finish this, because maybe it's a bit ugly where I'm going, but
It will
people
be
have
seen.
people
It will
have
be
too much time. Sorry.
No, I'm saying some people will see it as ugly because I know where you're going, but I want you to go there because I think it's a good space to have a certain discussion. So go ahead.
Yeah, people have too much time. That's what I wanted to say. In the beginning of this topic, I was thinking like, okay, this is why women have part-time jobs. A lot of women have a part-time job and not a full-time job. This is why you have a lot of spare time. So the spare time, it comes from two sides, right? Okay, the cost of living is expensive, so a two income household can manage, but most of the time the wife has a part-time job. Let's be honest. But anyway, I already said it. People have too much time, and then people start wondering, and a lot happens in that skull. So people
Absolutely.
come up with this. People come up with this new kind of feminist, because I believe feminism was born in industrialization, and women wanted to go back at being women and being mother. It's the and it got Edward Bernays hijacked the Edward Bernays hijacked it. Here in the Netherlands, you had the Dolle Minas. It's like the crazy broads. A free translation would be crazy broads, and they hijacked the women rights movement of those days, and they sexualized it, right? And here we are. You know, is it wifey material? Yes, because she's already married. I agree, but is it? Is it?
Yeah, is it? That's a good question. I'll say this piece too. What has happened? What Jose is kind of getting at is, and this has to do a lot with our basic just intimate relationships, like boyfriend, girlfriend, fiance, that kind of thing, and even husband and wife, because there's this time to be on social media and to see other people living what what they put out there, the lives that they put out there. A lot of people now, a lot of our people, I'll just have to be honest. It might be happening with men, but I think it happened. And if it happens with men, it probably happens in a different way. But a lot of women look at it and they start to become a bit angry. It could bring some problems into your relationship. How is this broad over here in Dubai, living it up, and I'm here working hard, and I look good, and you know what I mean? So there's that. But to get back to what Bobby E. Wright said, or Anthony said earlier, we're living outside of who we are. Like he said, we always knew how to deal with one another, but we're in this situation. This white guy created this reality where we don't have that old living arrangement, that life that we had back in the continent before we encountered these people. We don't have that ability where, let's face it, women were home most of the day taking care of a bunch of children, this, that, and the other, and men were out in the public sphere working farms, doing odd jobs, this, that, and the other. But also what we had back then too was the women had a community. So it wasn't just one-on-one like Marcus Garvey's way with 3 small children. There would have been a village, right, so to speak, helping her with that and taking her mind off of certain things and all these, you know what I mean? So that's what is the problem here too. And unfortunately, we haven't caught up with what has happened. This white boy has sacrificed people for profits, and including that people is family. He has sacrificed the family bad. He said, fuck that. You ain't gonna have no gal home all day cooking and making lunches so that this man and these children don't have to buy nothing out the road, when we have all this KFC and McDonald's and shit out here that need to make money. People need to be rich. This man sacrificed all that shit. Back in the day, I remember it used to be a big deal if you saw a family with 2 cars. Why? Because families share everything. Right? The father go drop the children off, he can go to work. Right? The mother's home, she go cook, she go make lunches and this, that, breakfast and all this type of thing. You ain't gotta spend that money out the road. You know what I mean? But we are in a situation, and we need to really understand this situation that we in. We already at the bottom. This shit gonna tear us up worse. Marcus Garvey, so I'll give you the last word on this prompt.
I don't know. What when you were saying that, it reminded me of, only here in America I've noticed, and I don't think in the Caribbean or maybe Africa doesn't happen, but have you noticed that only in America that a father will be taking a child to school and forget the child in the car, and then child dies in the car because the car got hot and the father forgot that.
Right.
Like, I've never heard of that. Like, how do you forget your child in the car? So it's like, everybody, so to what you were saying, like, everybody's so far removed from family and concept of family. Like, I've never heard, like, the Caribbean is hot, but I've never, in all the years I've been there, hear anybody forgetting their child in the car and the child dying in the car. It's like, it's just a weird thing. So people are so caught up in having to, grind, that family doesn't even become important anymore. So
yeah, family is lost. Family is lost all important. Marcus Garvey, I appreciate you coming up. Hopefully you'll stay with us for this last prompt tonight.
Hey, Coco.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, Coco. I was just thinking about something you had just said a minute ago about the family. Remember, we had extended families. You know what I'm saying? In Africa even in America and the Caribbean, at one time you had grandmama, you had uncles and aunties that all help mama. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it was the whole take a village to raise a child thing. You know what I'm saying? As for now, I mean, these days you look at it and it's sisters or aunties or whatever trying to sabotage your relationship.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Talk about how bad the man is, or vice versa. You know what I'm saying? But we had extended back then in the days, like my mom and my dad, they separated when I was like 8 years old. I was about 8. And so, I mean, we had like my grandmama, all my uncles and everybody who helped my mom out, because, she was a struggling mother too. And she worked and everything, and then, had to come home and take care of us and all of that. But we had that network back then, and I don't think we have it as much as we have it now. So I mean, what you were saying about the family, I think that was very important, man. And I leave it at that. I knock off right
there. No. I don't. You guys don't have to apologize, man. If you have a thought, something you want to express, just go ahead. There's a conversation after all,
Yeah.
In the chat. Oh, just 1 second. In the chat, the Hot Shot Podcast says we still got extended families, but grandma and aunties trying to go out, date, travel, not watch kids. A part of that is because we have a lot of young grandmas.
Yeah, 100%. Hey, grandmama ain't 65 no more. Grandmama 40 now.
Grandmother 40 now. I remember when I was 40, I saw some classmates from back home. One of them in particular lives in Florida. She's grandmother, and I believe she might be on the way to being a great grandmother. And it's like, but you're my age. How are you a grandmother already? It's wild. It's wild. But Kevin Curry, you go, and then I got to move on to the next prompt.
Yeah, real quick. Just to surmise something, as the matron will always say, it's too much within our community. Too much rugged individualism. That's what's destroying us right now.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. So this will be the last topic tonight. I put a poll up in the chat. Make sure you guys vote. It seems the majority wanted a show that's longer next week, and it seems so far like 80% of people want it by 1 hour. So I'll close that poll soon, and we'll go with we'll go with what the stats say at the end. Should it be topic number 5? Hopefully my panel will be cool with that too. I didn't ask that. I'm sorry. Hopefully the panel will be cool with 1 extra hour. Should we